Hi, love. Hello, and welcome to Co-Creative Healing Journey. My name is Greta. I am a healer, and here on the channel, I post an ongoing healing process where we look at healing for the soul in alignment with the times that we are living in, essentially. We are co-creating this process with spirit, and here on YouTube, I post messages, and then I co-create intuitive healing with spirit over on my Patreon. So it's going to be a continuation of this reading in the form of a healing with the cards also over on my Patreon, and it's been awesome so far with spirit just bringing through so much, not just healing but insight, because they're kind of integrative healings, right? So spirit asks questions and gets you guys to participate. It's been awesome. So if that speaks to you, you can find that over on my Patreon. And so here and now, we are going to be doing the life messages for the third and last week of departure, which is the theme that we're working through at this time. And so departure, I am defining as a value-based shift away from the status quo, which is so much in the air in these times. And so this is the third week. And we talked about calling in the first week. We talked about purpose, which spirit shifted into function, which is so much the energy of the times also during the second week. And so in this third week, we're going to talk about success, the connection between departure and success. And more specifically, spirit is saying authentic success. So let's get right to it. We have an overall energy of adventure. Wow. Wow. Okay. We have got make a decision. Oh my god, that's why I chose this deck. There's always or usually a card where I go, this is why I chose this deck. That's why. That's the one. And then finally we've got empowerment. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And so with the overall energy, my love, spirit wants you to know that you are living in an incredibly magical and fortuitous time. A time where there's adventure, where the departure can unfold as adventure. Now, the thing about that is that people have been departing from the status quo since the beginning of time, right? We're always growing, evolving, and individuals will always grow and evolve in ways that are out of alignment with the status quo and how it wants and needs and is teaching for things to be done. However, that didn't always end well, and that's very much a feature of previous times where there was such social control, and also there was not enough strength in the individual, especially in the psyche, in order to make this kind of departure and have it end well. But you are living in a times where there's a convergence, spirit is showing, between the energies of the times, things like technologies and how social norms have evolved, and also within the capacities and abilities of the individual. You know, there's a documentary series that talks about the last century as the century of the self, where there was the birth and the evolution of the ego, psychology, and all these things, so that the individual can show up in a completely different way. You know, I'm African, yeah, originally. And when I was little, I used to live in Africa. And when we went to school, people would call me by my last name. So I wasn't Greta, I was my last name, right? I was part of that family, I was part of that group. And that's how people would speak to me and know of me, right? And so now that was the norm for hundreds of years in so many different cultures. And again, there's evolution in different ways in different cultures regarding that, regarding the birth and the evolution of the ego. But by and large, and especially speaking to you, spirit is saying that you now have the choice to really be able to create a departure from the status quo, an evolution of the self in ways that have just been absolutely impossible or very rare in previous times, and that now it's almost becoming normalized, where so many of us here with the master number 11, which is mastery of the self, I term it as mastery of the self. So many of us have the ability to choose. There's, on the one hand, there's our nature, and even here it is showing up as our spiritual nature, who we really are. And on the other hand, with all of these Egyptian hieroglyphs, for me, it speaks to civilization, so that there is civilization and we can choose that also. And what spirit is saying is not either or, it's really to create a brand new hybrid of both. So to be in the world but not of it, right? To be in our spiritual essence, in our true being, with all that it has, its genius, its talents, its gifts, its calling, its purpose in the world, but at the same time also be able to be a part of society where we are following the rules, right? We are adhering to social conventions, we are following laws, for example, but we are also being able to provide through this energy. We're actually able to pull on that spiritual genius to provide what civilization needs the most right now. And what that is, Spirit is saying, is a shift. It is a change. It is a movement away from darkness, challenges, stresses, and strains, and also dangers that are preying upon humanity as a whole, as a group, and into a new future and new potentials and possibilities that can come into being, but that require individuals to make the departure, to make the change, take the leap, to follow down that path, and to start being, doing, living, and creating in completely new ways. And this is actually in alignment with a report that 12,000 climate scientists have signed here in later years. I believe it was 2020, but I'm not sure the exact year. But 12,000 climate scientists from all over the world made a report about the climate change crisis. And their number one recommendation was a shift in consciousness, that we simply need a shift in consciousness, again, in how we are, how we do things, how we live, and how we create. And it's the reason why I do what I do. That to me, it really speaks to what is going to be the most transformative, the most important, that we can change what we do. But if we don't change the consciousness from which we are doing those things, that we are taking action, if we don't change that core aspect, then we will repeat the same cycles with some amelioration, some improvement, less harmful, but it won't be fundamentally different, and it won't be healing, and there won't be resolution of those patterns, right? To some extent, there is an energy in humanity that says we just don't want to deal with this anymore. Souls are saying we don't want to be creating this kind of reality over and over and over again. Let's do this work, close off the karma, move on, and then create something new. And you are in that kind of energy, a pioneer of that energy, of the new, of what comes next. And so we have got Pleiades, which says double mission, channeling, and uplifting humanity. And I believe this came out in one of the monthlies, though I'm not sure which video it was. Yeah, you are already doing it. Stop overthinking. Keep facing your true north. You are so in alignment with this energy, and you would be, because it is who you are. And then finally, we've got mirror. Who or what is triggering you? Very, very, very interesting. So Pleiades is speaking to this notion of make a decision and the duality in all of these things, right? And again, we're seeing people who are walking in the stars, but they are connected to the earth. And so this is Spirit saying that you're here to embody something very high, a very high vibration, but at the same time, you are here to realize that vibration. You're here to bring it into the world. You're not here to realize a very high vibration and then go off maybe in isolation or in I'm being seen like obscurity, unknownness, yeah, isolation, not being seen, not being known, not being heard. You're not here to do that. You're here to realize that vibration and then ground it, to walk it down the street, to bring it to the party, to bring it to the boardroom, to bring it into the classroom, into the classroom, into society, into your shopping bag at the supermarket, and so on and so forth. You are here to live that very, very high vibration in a very grounded, general, mundane kind of way, and that's part of the decision that is here before you. And this card is talking about how you don't even have to try very hard to do this. It's who you are. It's in alignment of who you are. You're already doing it, meaning you are creating this kind of departure just by being yourself. If you're really yourself, you will go into the higher vibrations. You will grow and evolve spiritually. If you're really yourself, you will bring it into the world. You are not someone in the core and essence of your being who's going to realize that really high vibration and then turn away from the world and say, well, good luck, bye, see ya. That's not who you are. That's not who you were made to be. That's not, even remotely any kind of feature of who you are, not authentically, right? If you would do that, you would be leaning into the status quo, you would be following that. But that's the departure. The departure is in being you. And Spirit is also saying that's the success. The success in when we're talking departure lies, especially for you and especially for us and people who are aligning with this energy, the success within departure lies in the fact that it gives us the ability to live as ourselves and nothing else. And we don't have to live according to the status quo, and we don't have to bow to the status quo, and we don't have to substitute our own spiritual nature, our own being, our own calling, our own purpose for the functionings and the goals and the dynamics of the status quo. You are who you are for a purpose. And the more you embody that, the more you empower yourself to show up in the world as that, the more you are embodying the very shift of consciousness that is needed to rebalance the world. Spirit is saying it's coming through as a rebalancing, the need to rebalance the world. You are endowed with a multi-level understanding of yourself. You see how there are all these levels. There's the blue, there's the white. So there's journeys. There's a journey that you go on where you have to move through the different layers in order to arrive at the highest vibration, where you really feel like you can be yourself and you can go forth in the world feeling that like you don't have to offer any more than that, to just be yourself. And then you're going to find a situation or circumstance that is going to be particularly egregious to you. Something that is going to trigger you, not in your psychology, not in your patterns, not in your ideas of how you think that life should be, not in any kind of normative sense, but really in a true innate sense where the true you is going to be triggered by what is going on in the world. And that triggering is your calling into a certain function in the world. For example, mine, the thing that triggers me the most would be things like cult leaders or people who are card readers, spiritual teachers, and who distort the teachings for their own purposes. It's something that's just always driven me crazy, and false prophets and things like that. I've always been fascinated with cults also, but I've just been always triggered by any kind of teaching that disempowers people, where people feel like they can't be who they are, they can't do what they want to do because of society at first, right, at the first level. But then for me, it's even worse when it is because of a spiritual teaching, because it is of a spiritual teaching, or a spiritual teacher, or cult, or anything like that. It's particularly triggering for me. And it's a big part of what I do, of me doing what I'm doing, not because I think that I have the ultimate truth, but because I know that my voice should resound in the world. And so that's my version of this function and what triggers me. And Spirit is saying you have your own. And it's one thing to look at it as being something negative, right? I get so angry about this. I get so hurt by this. I get so triggered by it. But Spirit is saying that's where your heart is. That's the caring. And you need to start to learn to look at it in a different way, because where you follow your function, your purpose, your calling, you will also find what triggers you the most. They are two sides of the same coin, right? Because your energy is here to usher the movement from the darkness into the light. And so you are someone who necessarily has to be very sensitive to that darkness, but also very enamored with, very reverent of, very dedicated to the light of that. And so there are going to be two sides of the same coin. And this can be more or less obvious, right? You could be someone who loves fashion and fashion clothing and fashion accessories, and then be someone who's really triggered by body positivity. And so you would have a calling that's much more about self-esteem and worthiness and self-perception, and you would want to serve at that level. But then it all is within the field of fashion, and it goes together. You can't have one without the other. There are two sides of the same coin, and that is for purpose. So let's keep going. We have Queen of Swords upside down. There is a clarity that is coming to you around this issue at this time with these energies. And I'm being reminded, if you are working the Patreon, I'm being reminded to remind you to do the healing work. We have the World upside down. We have got the Major Arcana of the Tower upside down. This is number 16, Major Arcana number 16. We got the Three of Swords. And we've got the Hermit. Very, very interesting. And so this is Spirit diving deeper into specifically the dynamics of the success. What success is and what success looks like through the lens of departure, through the lens of a value-based shift away from the status quo. And first and foremost, we've got the Queen of Swords. And the Queen of Swords is saying that there is a transformative insight coming in for you. And Spirit is sending you this reading, these messages, these words, so that you're going to be on the lookout, a little more alert. Not actively alert because she is upside down, but there is something coming and Spirit wants you to be aware of it. What is coming is something that you need in order to fulfill and complete a soul cycle. You've been learning, you've been growing, you've been evolving at a soul cycle. And I feel like you've been coming into ownership also of the different energies and tools and resources and experiences that you need in order to complete yourself, complete the cycle, and then move on into the next. So to complete what you've learned and what you've developed at a soul level, then leverage it, right? You turn the card up right side up, you leverage it, you have your completion of that soul cycle, you take the resources, and then you move on. But Spirit also wants you to know you move on from a space of power, from a space of empowerment, yeah, where you have those resources, those experiences for you to use. It would be something like how you're not showing up empty-handed. You're showing up with a lot of abundance, with a lot of resources, with a lot of knowledge, with a lot of experiences. But fundamentally, sitting on top of the world, you're showing up with everything that you need in order to follow through on your next cycle, whatever is next for you. And it's going to be linked to your purpose. It's going to be this adventure, this next journey of wherever this departure dynamic is going to take you. You're shifting away from living like everybody else, but in order to materialize it and have it look like something specific, you're going to need to complete your soul cycle so that you then have the resources that you need to move forward. With the Tower upside down, there is a big, not a redirection, how do I put this? It's going to be life-changing for you. But it's upside down because it goes back to the notion of this spirituality. What's going to be completely transformative is this thing here with the crown upside down that has fallen. The fallen crown represents a change in paradigm. So this is your vibration rising. This is your spirituality expanding. This is you becoming so much more empowered. But it's upside down because it's not going to necessarily change your earthly dynamics all that much. It's what we were talking about, is the shift in consciousness. So you may be still in the same job, in the same house, with the same people, but the consciousness that you're going to bring to that is going to be completely different. And because it's completely different, it's going to change and transform your world. Your experience is going to be unlike anything that you've ever experienced before. Completely transformative. Absolutely. The Tower came through. The Spirit is saying that it's not about looking for the transformation in events, in dynamics, in specific happenings, but rather, again, in the consciousness that you're bringing through everything that you already have. Because here with the Three of Swords, there is an energy that is talking about being done with what hurts and what aches. So you're not even going to want to use that spiritual energy on the same kinds of issues that you had before. You are not who you were. When you finish this cycle, when you complete it, when you've done your departure, then you're not the same being. And then what you would have done with this power or this revolution is not going to be the same. So let me give you an example. It would be, for example, if you have, let's say you have a certain job, and with that job comes a certain income, and you've always wanted to direct yourself towards greater prosperity, more money, and so on and so forth. When you finish the soul cycle and you arrive in that greater awareness of your departure needs, right? What you need to do in order to depart, you raise your vibration, you come into a space where you complete the cycle, you're standing in yourself, in the truth of yourself, then all of a sudden you go in your life and then you can make choices all over again. But you're not going to make those choices from how much you didn't like your job or how limited you felt your income was. You're going to make those choices from you, your purpose, your calling, what you want to be in the world, what you want to bring into the world from that higher space and that higher place. And that in and of itself is the transformation. What follows will also be transformative because it is the Tower. It did show up. The Spirit is just saying that we have the hermit here. The wisdom is in charge. You're not going to want to look at specific earthly events. I do feel like in the healing, we're going to go more into how this is going to change your life and how that success would be described. Okay, that's why it's not showing up in this one. So we're going to look at that more in the healing. But what Spirit wants you to know here and now is that fundamentally, yeah, the soul wisdom is about to lead. When you complete that, then it's the soul wisdom, and the soul wisdom has a destiny, it has a path, a place it wants to go. It has those basic drives under control, including the shadow, and it's just not going to be what is calling the shots anymore, setting the agenda. It's not going to be about proving it to those people, or it's not going to be about having the shiniest new things or any of that. It's going to be about who you are, who you really are, and what you want to co-create with Spirit, what you want to bring through into the world, what you want to have your life stand for in the world. That's what's going to be the major defining criteria for how you move forward in your life. And that, my love, is the departure. And Spirit is saying that's the success. And it's a success that's co-created. It's the success of who you become, but it is also the success of how Spirit has been working on you and helping you and growing you and evolving you into becoming that. It's a co-creation at its finest. So I love those were the messages. Wowie. We have a takeaway, which is truths unveiled. There we go. There are times when appearances of people, places, and things are deceptive. You will sense this when something feels uncomfortable within you, when you notice feelings of anxiety or doubt within you. You may think there is something wrong with you, but actually you are intuitively sensing that all is not as it appears to be. Trust what you feel, not what appears to be. Exactly. Appearances are going to start falling away, and you're going to find that there's nothing wrong with you. There's a lot that's very right about you. It's a matter of perspective. It's a matter of adjustment, of alignment, of being in the right frame, like the right alignment, getting your ducks in a row, your intentions clear, your love clear, your priorities clear, your ambitions, your drive in this world, your inspirations, aspirations, getting clear on that, and then being able to live it out in the world so much more clearly. And through that alignment, a lot of illusions are going to fall away. Things are not going to be as they appeared to be, and that is going to free you up to really show up in the world, but also for yourself, to really show up for yourself and in the world in a completely new and very wholesome way. Beautiful. Very beautiful. My love, happy departure. Sending you lots of love, wishing you all the best. Thank you for watching this. And if you want to join us for the healings, that is over on my Patreon. Links are in the description box. Lots of love. Bye.